Evening, councillors. Council acknowledges that this meeting is being held on the traditional lands of the Wiradjuri, Gundungurra and Darug people and respects the history and culture of elders both past and present. Record of attendance. All councillors are either attending by Zoom or in person, apart from Councillor Gibbons. Any declarations of interest, councillors, this evening? No declarations, thank you. Confirmation of the previous minutes, which are in the body of your business paper this time. Can I have someone move that the minutes, that the confirmation of the minutes from the last works meeting, the 30th of March 2021, please? Councillor Pickney, thank you. A second, please. Just checking that you were there. Councillor Cable, thank you. Any business arising, councillors? No business arising. All in favour, the minutes be accepted. Carried, thank you. Page 13, councillors. Reports. Item 0501, participation in the regional contract for the supply and delivery of line marking services. There's a recommendation in 3 parts. The council receive and note the information contained in report item 0501. That council agree to participate in a regional procurement process for line marking services. That council advise Central New South Wales joint organisation accordingly. Could I have someone to move that, please? Councillor McKibben and Councillor Kellam, thank you. Councillor McKibben, do you wish to speak to this?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The report is fairly self-explanatory. The only question I would have is on page 15, where the joint organisation manages the process. This is second last, or third last paragraph, apologies, about halfway down page 15. Manages the process, including all costs of advertising, and typically receives a management fee from the service providers to cover these costs. So does that mean whoever ends up winning the tender for this line marking services pays them a separate management fee, or how does it work?
General Manager.
Through the chair, the contribution is paid by councils to Central to manage these particular contracts, not the other way in terms of participants providing a payment to the contractor.
Okay, so should not the word service providers be changed to councils? Because the service providers that as I understand, the service providers who are providing the line marking services. That's why I was confused.
Right. Look, certainly if there's confusion, we can alter that. If that's so be the case.
Well, noting that change, yeah, I'm happy with the report.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Killam.
No, I agree with Councillor Gibbon on that one, and I'm happy with the report and commend the report for council.
Thank you, Councillor. Is there any other comments on this one, Councillor Claypool?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just on the second last paragraph, member councils have the opportunity to be involved in the procurement process. And then goes on to say that staff acting as a Blaney, Cowra, Orange Parks and Wedding councillors have expressed interest. Is Oberon Council going to express interest, or is there a reason that we're not interested? I just wondered what, since member councils have the opportunity to be involved, are we there or not?
Well, we're not. There was, I think there was, from memory, and the General Manager will confirm this, a member of the panel of 5 or 6 from memory, and they were the councils that put their hand up. And as far as I'm aware, Oberon didn't, but I'll get some confirmation.
That's correct, Madam Mayor. However, it's generally there's quite a number of these things where we sit on evaluation panels, and generally it's shared around. In this instance, they were the 5 councils that expressed their interest in becoming the panel.
Thank you. That explains it. You didn't mention that there were 5, so I just wondered.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any other comments on this one, Councillor? I'm going to put the recommendation. All in favour? Sorry, thank you. Page 16, councillors, item 0502, trial line marking Oberon Street. There's a recommendation in 4 parts that council trial the installation of painted line marking vehicle car parking spaces on the northern side of Oberon Street between Ross Street and the pedestrian crossing. That the trial be monitored for a 6-month period and a further report be provided to council at the conclusion of the trial. But subject to Transport for New South Wales approval, council install an additional accessible vehicle parking space on the northern side of Oberon Street, adjacent to 135 Oberon Street, and that council should approval not be obtained from Transport for New South Wales, a further report be provided to council indicating the reasons for the refusal. Do I have a mover for this one, please, Councillor? Councillor Capel and Councillor Callan, thank you. Councillor Capel, do you wish to speak to this one?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is something that's had a fairly long gestational period. There's been a fair bit of discussion about it over the time. The report summarises everything that's happened. And I think that the best way to find out whether having line markings on the road is acceptable, 2 worthwhile, is to suck it and see. That's exactly what we're doing. I think the important thing here, though, too, is the accessible parking spot that we've that we've been talking about also for a fair while. Yeah, now's the time to get on and do it. I think, as I say, I think a trial is the best way to find out if this is all worthwhile and accessible to the community and yeah, acceptable to the community.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Callan?
I've got nothing further. That was good to know.
Thank you. Any other comments on this one, councillors? I'm putting the recommendation, all in favour. Carried, thank you. Six councillors, item 503.
Hello. Sorry, Madam Mayor. I've been trying to catch your attention there.
Councillor Doney, sorry,
Can I be heard? Can I be heard?
on what, councillor?
On the one you just put to the vote. I was attempting to catch your attention about any other comment. I can clarify it through other means. That's all right. I was just, when you said other councillors, I was giving you multiple signals, but they obviously are not easy to see. That's all right. I'll ask it. It's not against the motion. I can clarify it elsewhere.
Okay, councillor, can I just say I can only see your head from your chin up. If you could put your hand up. Sorry.
I was flying through the air.
Ask the general manager to please keep an eye on the screen on my behalf. Thank you.
Through the chair, I thought I was Madam Mayor, so I've
do
missed
fit
it
on.
as well. No.
Okay, item 0503, rural roads environmentally affected. The recommendation is in 3 parts. The council allocate local roads and community infrastructure round 3 grant funding of $1,169,028 to assist with road drainage improvement as outlined within the report. That an amount of $586,000 be provided in the 2021-22 financial year to be allocated to road maintenance works listed in Table 1 from LRCI Round 3. That the residual amount of $583,028 be provided during the 22-23 financial year to be allocated to road maintenance work listed in Table 2 during the June to December 2022 calendar year from LRCI Round 3. Do I have a mover, please, councillors?
I'll move it for
Councillor McCarthy and
discussion.
Councillor Kellogg. Thank you. Councillor McCarthy, would you like to speak to this one?
Yes, Madam Mayor. There's a lot of it I can't understand, and in the report whether we end up with the Sewell Road, like when you look at Drew's Road, $160,000, which is a lot of money. I understand when we went down there was just a few culverts to be added. Does that mean this is going to be sealed, or what do we do? Or does that mean the big pipe down the bottom of the hills involved in this, or what? I think we need to be a bit more explain it. And on the Carwood Road, the 2 kilometres, it says here that we've got 5 culverts to go in. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Many years ago, we allocated the council some money, and we had a chap from Coomba Valley come do culverts. And I thought that 35,000 we allocated them was to do all the culverts, so that when we got money to do that road, that we had them done. So why do they keep recurring?
Through the chair, I can explain that. We're talking about the other section of Carwood Road from Rosemount through to Hazelgrove Road. Sorry, but we're talking about the other section of Carwood Road on the eastern side between Rosemount Road and Hazelgrove Road, where the 5 culverts would be installed. So you're right in what you say in terms of the previous installation of culverts and extensions on the section between Rosemount Road and the O'Connell Road has been complete. It's the section that we're focused on the unsealed section between Rosemount Road and Hazelgrove Road off the Carwood
Okay.
Road.
Across Snakes Valley.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, councillor.
And sorry, in answer to also your Drees Road question with relation to the 5 pipe culverts there, correct? And 1 concrete box culvert, which I've tried to highlight there. It's a precast box culvert, not dissimilar to probably
That's-
what we'd be using at.
That's to take place in that big gully, is it?
Correct, to
Okay.
replace the round under pipe culverts there at the minute. So
Okay, I understand a bit more of it now. It's just that it needs a bit more.
that's fine.
Thank you, councillor. Councillor Kelly?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm quite happy with this the strategy here, which is allocating that $1.169 million to our unsealed roads, and particularly the culverts. This is in line with the sorts of expenditure that the Morrison Lowe report aims at. And I think the question that is begged here is, how do we maintain that expenditure within our normal baseline of income from own sources beyond the scope of this 2 years?
Through the chair, that's a question that future operational plans are going to have to answer. What I can say is that based on that document that you mentioned, this gives a boost to our maintenance function in areas where we know that we spend a significant amount of maintenance money now due to the issues that have been outlined in the report and previously. By implementing a strategy such as this, it minimises the continual take up of maintenance money on these types of roads, which therefore will allow us in the future to move that maintenance money into other localities around the local government area. We need to continue to be strategic about how we do that, which is why over the next 2 financial years, implementing this money gives significant boosts to your maintenance fund without the need to recognise additional funding in those 2 financial years.
Okay, so your expectation is that we will improve drainage across a whole variety of unsealed roads to the point where the maintenance impost on council for those roads will be reduced.
Correct. It's one of the number of strategies that we're going to continue to address, but I think it's a pretty good one to start with.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, look, when Councillor McCarthy moved this originally, I was fully supported it because, and I think that council staff and councillors have been very much in agreement with this of trying to target our worst roads and see what we can do to reduce our current maintenance costs. And as has been said by Councillor Kellerman, the General Manager, that's been the aim, and it looks as though that should have that impact so that we can save the number of gradings, for instance, on each of those roads per year. So it may go from 5 back to 2. My only comments is that I think it should be headed rural roads, not road. And although I think as councillors, we all know that in 2 and 3, the amounts there add up to the total at the top, I suggested some amendments to maybe ensure that people were not, did not think that we had 1.169 plus 586 and 583 to say that the 586 was part of the 1169 or recommendation 1. I gave some proposed rewording to Sharon and to others. And the only other thing was, I think the June to December 2022 in recommendation 3, we can't really call that financial year. It's a 6-month period.
Through the chair, just to give clarification.
Yep.
In 2 and 3, it's indicated that in
From-
2,
yep.
it's from the LCI round 3.
Right.
In 3, it's from the LCI round 3.
So that's
I note-
sufficient.
I note
Yeah.
your concerns about June to December. The fund makes council spend the money between January 22 and December 22. So in order for the funding to in fact work in the 2 financial years as proposed, half of it will be spent in the first from January to June in 2022.
Yes, that's
The
right.
second part will be spent in 2022 between June and December.
I understand that. My only question is, it was saying June to December 22 calendar year. Calendar year is 12 months. So I don't mind if we delete calendar year.
Just take out calendar.
Calendar year, or put in the 6 months.
Noted.
It's just a, yeah, that was the only issue.
Noted.
I'm happy that if we're all happy, LRCI round 3 sufficient to make sure that that's, and those 2 amounts do add up to the 1.169, I agree. And as I said, the only other issue is I think it should be roads environmentally effective.
That doesn't affect the resolution, though, it's just
No,
for the minutes.
but no, I'm fully in support of this. I thought the table 1 and table 2 with the legend, if I can call it the legend, about a third of the way down page 27 was very clear. I note that, and I do hope that the work on, for instance, Baldridge Road with the culverts and Schumacher's Road in particular, which are in particularly bad state at the moment, will significantly reduce our maintenance requirements on those roads, because as I emailed to the Technical Services Director recently, Schumacher's Road is in atrocious condition at the moment. I know a lot of roads are, but in fact, someone suggested to me the other day it should be closed. It isn't such bad. And if anyone drove a car over it, if they didn't do certain area, if they went too fast, they'd break an axle. I know that there may have been some work in the last week.
Thank you, councillor.
I'm sorry.
Can I just before the director speaks, councillor McCarthy and councillor Kellam, have you got any objection to taking out calendar year from that resolution? Thank you. To the director.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to clarify Baldridge Road there on page 28. You may have picked up that doesn't sum appropriately if you take into my legend of $80,000. It actually just allocated $40,000 per box cast culvert because they are smaller culverts on that particular road, and being 3 odd, we've allocated $40,000. It was just something I probably should have put in that legend in a different colour to represent that mathematical calculation, so it provides further understanding, but just for your information.
Thank you. Any other comments, councillor? Just councillor Donny. You're muted, Captain.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Are you able to hear me now?
Thank you.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. I commend the report response that's been developed on the floor of the chamber and by the staff. I think it's a couple of questions. One, I like the flexibility that we're not looking to seal everything that's there and therefore give ourselves a greater maintenance impost into the future. So I'm hoping that we will actually find that those key spots that need sealing are minimised. I thank Councillor Kellam for clarifying the point that I think should have been in the report, that this intent is actually to, it was by inference, but I don't think directly, that this intent is to reduce the maintenance bill when this period's over, that the maintenance on these roads will actually save us money into the next medium-term period. I'm just wondering, I know environmental damage was the key element, but we have that old thing, our roads matrix. And I wonder, in some of these roads, such as Phil's Falls, I look at Phil's Falls and I compare that to maybe Bosworth or Bloom Hill on the level of traffic. Did the roads matrix have any bearing on the amount of money we're willing to spend on some of these unsealed roads? Or was it simply environmental issues?
Through the chair, completely separate, as you just described. Obviously, you're addressing environmental concerns from gradient and highly erosive country, as opposed to the bitumen sealing of 1 to 2 kilometres per year matrix, which identifies more the volume and type of traffic and development and alike. So very hard to integrate them, put it that way. Again, sticking to the motion of environmentally affected is really what we're talking about, even to that extent where bitumen seal is being applied to sections of some of those unsealed roads. It's not the entirety, of course, but just again, addressing the gradients and the worst sections that are more susceptible to storm damage.
So, Madam Mayor, through you, so if we are not really applying the road matrix, which is different from our intention of sealing certain kilometres each year, road matrix was based on intensity of use as well. I'm just want to be assured that any sum of money that we spend on one of these road projects, which is quite significant, is a wise expenditure of money on the amount of traffic that road receives.
Again, through the chair, just going back to the affected component, it's really about getting the off these roads, which is probably the number one enemy which creates the damage. So I'm sort of, again, in this report, just addressing the environmental component, more so than other road networks which are conducive to carrying more vehicular traffic and varying types of traffic and development and the like, where that 1 to 2 kilometres per year was really addressing roads and providing bitumen. This is more addressing an aim of reducing, as I think clarified, reducing the maintenance, ongoing maintenance costs, and and councils having to put their hand in the pocket, I suppose, of again the Morrison and Lowe's recommendation of that additional $300,000 per annum. So it's again a strategy around that to reduce the ongoing component in that area of maintenance. If that makes sense.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Jani, I'll just draw your attention to page 30.
Yes.
That gives you the answer to your first question about reducing future maintenance. Any other comments?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm actually using without the paperwork in front of me. I can't get it up doubly on the screen. Though I've read it, I just can't get it up at the same time as this.
Okay, apologies. Any other comments?
Thank you.
McCarthy.
Yes, Madam Mayor. When we're doing this road maintenance, do we monitor who's doing the actual grading or which crew's doing the grading? In respect that the local farmer told me that their road was graded in 2016 and they had no work done up until recently, and then it was done flat. Hence, with the local weather, it's nearly needs doing again. What I'm getting at is it had a crown in the road, and then the grader operator decided the crown wasn't needed and took it away. Do we monitor some of the whoever's doing the road work, or should we be starting to do it? In other words, if someone's not doing it quite right, does it make the frequency required to grade it more?
Through the chair, that certainly could have an impact on the requirement to grade more frequent. That's correct. I would expect that our operators are all experienced enough to be able to, address the different varying types of terrain, and again, referencing to your crowning on the roads where applicable.
Okay.
But certainly, if there's a concern, I would suggest that the component or the property owner that is of concern raise it with raise it with us engineers, and we'll take it to task and review it.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Thank you, councillor. Okay, councillors, I'll put in the recommendation. All in favour? Carried, thank you. Page 31, councillors, item 504, capital works program, progress update 2021-22. The recommendation is that the report item is received as information. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor McKibben, and a seconder. Councillor Kellam, thank you. Councillor McKibben, do you wish to speak to this report?
I do, Madam Mayor. Thank you very much. It's an extensive report, and I think the Gantt chart shows clearly the extent of the capital works program, which has been indicated again as at historically high levels for the council. I did have a question, and the general manager may have responded, but I have not had a chance to make emails on item 48, 49. The new sewer plant project RFT, which I am assuming is request for tender. I know that it goes from the 11th of October 21 to the 25th of November 22. I wouldn't have thought the RFT would have taken that long to be prepared. It does say RFT. When the award of the project on item 49 of the Gantt chart looks as though it's going to occur in January, and is that the date that we anticipate a contract for the detailed design and for the construction to be awarded? If so, I would have thought that it's incorrect for the RFT to have gone for such a long period of time, because the RFT would be issued, there would be a period in which the contractors would be getting their tender together, and then they would be submitting it back to us. We would be evaluating it. There would be an evaluation period, and then there would be an awarded contract. So I would have thought that should be broken down into more elements, because I'm not understanding it right from what's there.
Yeah, through the chair, certainly that will be the case at this stage. It's indicative of the timeframes around the funding and the like, for that to come to fruition with regard to the documents and that aligning. But you're right, this is dynamic. This will change, no doubt about that. And I'm still hoping that it may be the case it will come forward. But first case with council elections and the like, and just cognizant of many variables in that space. So again, this is just not locked in totally at this stage. It's just floating at the minute.
So what you're saying is a living document.
But with respect, the RFT period, which is the request for tender, has a period spanning over a year. And then you've got an award and construction over on TP, which I would have thought was the award of the contract in January 22. So how can you have the RFT process extending beyond the award of the contract?
You're right. So
And after you issue an RFT, the contract, the people you issue it to have a period, 2 or 3 months to get their tender together, or I think we talked about a month at one stage, it might be a bit longer, to get the tender together, and they submit it back to us by a certain date.
Yep.
We have an evaluation panel that evaluates, and they come up, and after then we might have some contract negotiations, and then we sign the contract.
that's correct.
So I don't think this reflects that process.
No, it doesn't.
Even though if it might be flexible, this is not reflecting that process.
And it will. So through the chair, certainly will reflect that process as more information comes to hand. When the RFT is done, subject to that funding mechanisms, then I will certainly make sure this is redone and reissued at that time to reflect exactly the timeframes that's going to be allowed.
Right, Madam, subject to that comment, I'm happy to recommend this report as, and I think it's a very good way for us tracking these projects. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor. Councillor Cook.
I think it's an excellent report, and I'd ask the Secretary Service Director and the General Manager for you, Madam Mayor. With this great lot of capital works taking place in various areas such as water treatment plants and sewage treatment plants and roads, is there manageable stress on staff resources and also the availability of contractors to fulfill a lot of the requirements for building all this new infrastructure?
So through the chair, very good question. And the answer to that question is it's monitored. We understand that there will be a number of things that we are looking to put in place. In fact, the engineering staff are looking to assist in evaluating some of our current employees' acumen by putting in like having overseers, we call them team leaders, for specific projects, so that there is a level on the ground that we can look at every day to assist the project manager in delivering projects. There absolutely will be need for engagement with contractors to assist in the delivery of these projects. And in the space where unique and essential mindsets are required, or skill sets are required to fill these roles, we'll be looking to engage with those outside the current staffing requirements of council.
Thank you, Madam.
Any other comments here, councillors?
Just a clarification from what the general manager said, you're looking to get support staff and contractors. Are you looking at still only working 8-hour days to get some of this work done, or are you going to work extended days and we'll go flexis? Because there seems with Noonan Hill Road, has it been commenced yet?
So, yep.
So through the chair, I'll answer the first one and let Chris answer the capital works. We're looking to extend work hours where we need to get best bang for buck out of time, and especially distance away from the depots. So having guys on site at nominal at additional hours is going to be one of those processes that we use. Yes.
Yeah, I'll refer to the manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Excuse me. Noonan Hill Road, we've been a little delayed on that due to absences, key absences, which we've now got resolved, and but the weather's now turning against us, but we're ready to go. We've got everything in place, all our materials are organised, so I would anticipate we'll get a start this week sometime. Since the weather gives us a break, and then once we start, we just keep pushing through on extended hours until we get the thing concluded.
Okay, please don't blame the weather. The money for that job was there available in July, wasn't it?
Yeah, so
So please don't blame the weather.
through the chair, we certainly have had a good run with snow events and
I
damages
realise
and
that.
the like. So the resourcing is the key element, I think, where Peter, sorry, the technical services manager's referring to. And again, we have consulted with staff about the longer hours.
Okay.
Daylight savings, of course, is here now. That may be 6:30 starts and 7 o'clock finishes, if that be the case on some
Okay.
days. So yes, we are looking to maximise that, and including RDOs and possibly even some weekend work if that, again, if the weather permits. So the Bureau of Meteorology, I think, as I've reiterated to council, has confirmed a wetter than average spring and summer period. So we can't help what we're given, but we will certainly work to our best to facilitate and deliver these projects.
Thank you. If there's no other comments, councillors, I'm putting the recommendation. All in favour? Thank you.
Shouldn't be regretting it.
With
the greatest respect after our damage. And others.
Page 38, councillors. I'm proposing to bring item 7 forward, general business, which allows the viewing public to hear the discussion. Can I have someone to move that item 7 be brought forward, please? Councillor Capel and Councillor McCarthy. Thank you. All in favour? Thank you. General business, councillors. Any general business this evening? Councillor McCarthy.
Yes, Madam Mayor, in 2001, council agreed to do the link between the Crown Road Reserve and the dedicated road down at Byram's, which is down off Druges Road. Give all the council a bit of an update or request it. And I had an extensive conversation with Gary and I appreciated it on Friday. I went back and done some more research. There's roughly 60 metres missing of road. And that is so the Crown Road, sorry, the council road that's there now meets the paper road that goes to the river. And unless that link is in play, Byram's won't be able to go to the Lands Board and get a closure on that road. And Gary will tell you that the paper road goes nowhere, it goes to the river. But when you go and lodge something to close a road, you go up against the fishermen. And all they say is, we object. This link needs to be there so that the council road connects to the paper road and the road that goes through Byram's, which is trying to close. Don't get me wrong, there's two other things here. There's the paper road that goes past Byram's house, and there's a right of carriageway. They're his problems. He's got to sort that out. But we need this 60-metre link that's in between the council road and if I'll give you a copy and we want it. I'll be able to understand and explain it. But anyway, we need to support Byram's. It was agreed to back in 2001.
Can I have one, please, councillor?
Yes, sorry, Ken. You want one to go?
Is it the same one that I?
Same one you and I argued. Don't get me wrong. This has been going for, but we need to just get that 60 metres done and get it out of the road so Byram can get on them. You know, you can go back and forward, whatever. But if anyone's ever been involved in a road closure, you get all these people objecting to it. And as you see there, the black one is a newly constructed road that Chris McEwen put in. In other words, when Byram's had a subdivision down, not Byram's, Chris McEwen had a subdivision down there. Byram's objected and Chris McEwen said, I'll move the road away from your house, which he did. And that was on a Crown Road, and now it's become a council road. The other ones that are down here in the corner, one's a paper road, which is there, and the others are what I call, they're Byram's problems. We just need this 56.88 metres for road to link the council road to the paper road. And then the road that's in the bottom of your thing, that is where the fishermen will say, we want access to the river. And that's what I agreed with Gary, what he'd done the other day, and then I went back and researched another one that I knew about, and that's what happens. They just say no, because it blocks access. So if we don't link that together, Byram will never be able to get the paper road closed. If you get what I mean.
Yeah, I do. So what is your?
Well, we agreed to in 2001 to do that section. All I'm asking the council do it.
Is that correct? Yeah. So can I get a comment, please, from the general manager?
Sure, just a
Is
couple.
this our liability? Is this our?
No. Totally concur with the councillor in terms of the information that's been provided, that council will undertake some type of road assessment from this letter. We've had evidence to suggest that that is a continuation. I talked to both our legal person who represents us and Byron's and talked about this matter. And the matter relating to the linking of the paper road is one that is new to me on the basis of what Councillor McCarthy's saying in terms of the fishermen not having access. My only comment to that would be the access to the river could be via, we already are looking to put a culvert over Drews Road, which would access the river. So their link would still be there.
No. This is not access you can drive on.
Oh, we understand that.
This is just a legal access that the fishermen say we have the right to walk down there, and with stuff like GPSs now, they can be on that paper road. But yeah, lots of it you can't, and there's heaps of these paper roads you can't traverse, but they're there. But if we don't support this small bit of road, Byron's won't be able to close the paper road in between there because of the.
Madam Mayor, based on that, because Councillor McCarthy and I did have a conversation about this last week, and if he's provided additional information, I'm more than happy to engage with the Byrons and our legal team to be able to sort this out. I don't think it's a huge issue when it comes.
It's not a huge issue.
And I'm more than happy to take that on notice and try and get a resolution to that matter.
Yeah. Just, we need to complete our piece. The problem that Byron's created themselves, they allowed some people to come on a ride of carriage where they didn't have to. They listened to a bloody silly looking real estate agent. That's their problem.
I won't go down that path, Madam Mayor, to blame real estate agents, but what I will say is that I'm more than happy to discuss this with our representatives, purely on the basis that it traverses the Byrons land, and if the Byrons want to continue on with that process, then well, at the end of the day, we resolved that we were going to assist in doing this, and I'm happy to assist. I thought we had, and I thought that our legal parties were going to discuss this with the parties, and we thought we would resolve. Back to that.
Was there any councillors when up the roof? And we had the meeting up the roof there with the Department of Planning and the people in charge of roads. Is there any other councillors here then? Margie Stevenson and Gutshot Evans and all them. And they complained about the roads through their place, and then the bloke from the government let loose and said that you don't own that ground, and made it perfectly clear that people can walk along that ground at any time that they like. Yeah. Anyway, I thought you might have been
Okay,
there.
so
No,
as far as this piece of general business is concerned, the general manager's agreed to liaise with the environment, take this on notice and
Okay, thank you.
come back. Is there any other general business? Councillor McGibbon.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I know that we're fully taxed with our equipment supplies, but is there any update on when on the Dog Rocks Road, the Campbell's River, at the Campbell's River, that the willow might be removed and the debris on the top side of that bridge removed at least? I probably have an email every couple of weeks from the manager of Briar Park there.
Through the chair.
I realise we need an excavator and we don't want to send one down there on a single job.
Yeah, through the chair, it certainly hasn't gone off our radar. I think that certainly in the next 2-3 weeks, I'm hoping that be the case. I have spoken with the overseers in relation to be able to maybe free up a machine. If I can't do that, then I will be also looking at other alternatives like contractors that may be able to help us out in that area. So I will stay in touch with you regarding that. Got your emails, thank you.
Yep, okay, thank you. And if I could, Madam Mayor, a couple of questions. The two bridges on the Burriga Road, that triangle flat, where the Triangle Creek crosses just before the Bathurst boundary, or at the Bathurst boundary, and the Gilman Dyke Creek cross just near the Lana Koori entrance. Have both those bridges been assessed to see whether they're sufficient to take the logging trucks and B-doubles when this Burriga Road is being upgraded?
Through the chair, no would be the answer. In simplicity at this stage. However, yes, we could look at those.
Or would they be, I'm assuming if we're upgrading the road, we have to assess what weight capacities that bridges can take.
Correct, yes, and I don't have that information, so I can certainly take that
And the
on.
same, the one at Judd's Creek, I'm assuming too.
There'll be a number of bridges that need to be assessed.
Yeah.
Let's go with that. So if, should we seek an application, then yes, we can review that. Certainly review that on the basis of the capacity of the vehicles that are wishing to do that, but in the interim, I can certainly look up that and have that discussion with yourself.
Well, I'm just wondering, because I mean, you saw us that it'll be suitable for B doubles, and I want to make sure that we're not stymied by the bridge capacities. And also, we don't want to upgrade it for forestry trucks and then have the issue that the bridges can't take the trucks, you know, it's, and they'll be travelling, I'm assuming both ways, they'll also be travelling to Bathurst on that road. somewhere.
So through the chair, the technical services manager does get a lot of applications through the NHVR.
I'm not asking you to do it as an isolated thing, but I would have thought it would be done as part of the project for Burriga Road. I'm not saying go out now and assess them. All I'm saying is part of this project for the upgrade of the Burriga Road, which we've been allocated a number of, I would have thought we need to do a proper assessment on those bridges to ensure what capacities they have.
So through the chair, also I'm, I suppose, saying is, yes, the capacities are certainly going to be the limiting factor on those particular applications. So whether they're double decked or single type B doubles, that's probably where I'm coming from. So we can have that discussion. Yeah.
Right. The next thing is with the grant for Arkstone Road. I'm a little uncertain as to how far down Arkstone Road that's going. Is that from where to where?
6 kilometres from the Campbells River Road.
Oh, down Arkstone Road. So where does that take it down to?
Pretty much to the work that was last done, that midsection. So that's just from recollection. Don't hold me to it, but yeah, certainly around about that.
So it's part of Arkstone Road was done with in the current Campbells River, Burriga Road, Arkstone Road. So this will be the next section going south, I suppose it is.
Yeah, southeast. Yeah.
Southeast, sorry. Yeah, so that'll be the next section going southeast.
Mm.
That'll be 6 kilometres from there, is that right?
From the intersection of Campbells River Road, that's correct.
So how far down does that take it? I'm just trying to think. What's the closest intersection?
I just don't have one off the top of my head. I must say.
All right. Well, I was just interested so that we know. It doesn't go obviously down to Emden Vale Road or anywhere like that. No.
No, it falls short of that. So there was some recent work that, when I say recent, probably about 3 years ago, that we done an upgrade midsection where the road was in a really bad state.
I remember that. That's why. Yeah.
It does take us to around about that point from my recollection, but I can confirm. If you like.
Yeah, not a matter of urgency, but just when you have a chance to look at it. I'm just interested. All right. They're the only matters I've raised. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
If there's no other general business,
Yeah.
we'll conclude.
39 Owen Street, could the works manager give us a update on what's the progress on that, or does there a report come back to council? The crossing from McLaughlin.
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. The owner of the property has had a number of discussions with me regarding access on she has been referred to the RTA, Transport New South Wales these days. This involves the main road. Transport have indicated that they would have no objection to the driveway being constructed. However, there's major telecom works. There's a real site vision issue with regard to the stone wall. How far you would have to move it uphill. It has been suggested to that the council, because it's a private entrance, technically it's nothing to do with council. It's to do with the property owner. If the property owner wants to improve the access, then it's the property. property owner has indicated they're willing to contribute $7,000 towards the cost of the job. But that to meet the cost, it's likely to be significantly dearer than that. And that's what.
No,
Mayor, I mentioned this because we need to resolve what we're going to do, whether we're going to offer
Council, no one knows anything about this apart from
No.
you and.
Apparently,
So can I ask why it's a we when they're the beneficiary of a driveway? They should be not paying for it.
No, I agree. I spoke to Peter the other day, but yeah, I'm happy, but that's not what they want, is it?
Well,
They want the rock wall cut down, but how long's this been going for? Because it's been going back and forward, and they've been to Paul Tool and,
I
know,
asked
well,
the
they
question then when they bought the property. then
I agree with you, Chris. I agree with you.
They haven't been satisfied with the answers they've been getting. They basically ask the council to contribute towards it.
There's going to be some excessive costs there, no doubt. The utilities and power is another one that come to mind when I looked at it yesterday. Certainly the cabling through there, the water main is in the road. It's not a problem, but it's the modification of the wall.
Can I ask, have they officially applied to council to pay part of this?
No.
So then that's when we should be discussing it.
Anyway, you raised it.
But it's festering back and forward. And
Yeah, but if the applicant.
they
would
run
like
off to Paul Tool, and Paul Tool says they've got plenty of money here that they can take it out of this
But
budget.
then they need to apply to council,
Okay,
McCarthy.
well, how long have we had the application for?
We haven't had an application.
An application.
But I'll just reiterate, it's the benefit of them.
I
And like
agree.
any access, if they want to modify it, then look, I can't see why they can't, but certainly $7,000 is going to be a far cry from what's going to cost. I would be thinking somewhere between 20 and 30 grand. That's on a desktop.
So just in terms for sorry about that, have we responded to the owners indicating that council's not going to contribute?
We've not received any.
No,
formal-
So there hasn't been
We've had
Yeah.
discussions, we've had a number of
Just a
discussions.
telephone
Yeah.
discussion.
Why don't we- Could I suggest that we refer to the discussions and say you'll appreciate that council's not in a position to contribute for a whole host of reasons that was set an unfortunate precedent, blah, blah, stop it.
I think we need to actually receive an application first,
All right.
Well,
councillors, and I
that
think,
would be the response, yes.
and that would then be the response.
And
Okay,
my understanding is that based on what you both just said, is that the reason why they haven't is because they already know the answer.
Yeah. I'll contact them, Mayor, and get them to put an application.
okay.
Do I have to disclose a declaration of interest and that I had to put a water main at my expense under the road because it was going through the culvert and then bitumen my entrance way?
That's fine. Councillor.
So
Okay, councillors,
I
we
have
now-
no sympathy for them.
We're now going to move into closed session. So it's page 38, item 6, closed session confidential report. In accordance with the Local Government Act 1993 and the Local Government General Regulation 2005, in the opinion of the General Manager, the following business is of a kind as referred to in section 10A bracket 2 of the Act and should be dealt with in a part of the meeting closed to the media and the public. I'd like to thank any members of the public present for joining us this evening on the Zoom platform. I'll now call for a councillor to take us into closed session, please. Councillor McKibben and a second to Councillor Killen, thank you. All in favour? Carried, thank you. I now request the minute secretary to turn off the recording at 5:54 p.m. Following resolutions were made in closed session and there were no members of the public present at this time. Item 0601, that council accepts the RFQ submission in the amount of $208,136.50, inclusive of GST, Nicholson Projects Proprietary Limited, for the earthworks construction of the new O'Connell Sporting Ground. That council agree to proceed with shared cost to supply and construct a new shared boundary fence between 2509 O'Connell Road and the council recreation ground, with landowners' contribution being $1,936 inclusive of GST. That a formal letter and memorandum of agreement be prepared and provided to the owners of 2509 O'Connell Road, seeking their formal confirmation and signature prior to the engagement of a contractor for construction of the new shared fence. The next Works Committee meeting of Oberon Council will be held on a date to be advised. I now declare the meeting closed at 6:13 p.m. and I wish you all good evening.